Hello everybody, my name is Tanner Kyler and today I am in Higabanica, Greece, and I'm bringing you a beautiful shrub, to a large shrub to a small tree that grows wild here. It is commonly used throughout the United States, and this is the chaste tree, Vitex agnus-castus. It comes from the Latin name via, which means to weave, as this plant was originally used for basket weaving, as its bark is easily peeled off of this plant. The part of the name that is agnus-castus comes from the word chaste or pure, which are synonyms. So this tree is known as the basket weaving pure tree. So it is a beautiful drought tolerant plant native to a lot of Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and to India. It is a pollinator magnet here. It is also a pollinator magnet in North America. One big difference is, as this plant does help insects throughout their entire life cycle here, as I see inchworms and other things using it. In North America, not many things use it other than in the pollination phase. So it is not an ideal plant for helping wildlife in North America, but if you live in Africa, in the Middle East particularly, Mediterranean parts of Europe, and into Western Asia and India, this plant is native and does amazing. There are so many pollinators on this. I've never seen so many pollinators on one plant here in Europe, at least. It is just covered in dozens of species of bees. I'm seeing bees all over this. I see large black bees, small solitary bees, and it's also just covered in honeybees and butterflies as well. The appearance is a small tree to a bush, or a large bush to a small tree, is what I meant to say there. This thing, if you look behind me, right behind me over here, there is one that's in bloom that is much taller and more tree-shaped. Here's a taller one back right here that is also more tree-like. The one right here has obviously been cut back and is more of a bush shape. It is beautiful, and you can choose how you want to grow it. If you want to chop it back every year and let it grow back as a bush and only let it get 3 to 4 feet tall, that's what it'll look like this. And then you can also let it grow larger and prune it up and prune it into a vase-like small tree. That's how I pruned mine back in Oklahoma. I have one as a specimen tree. It makes an ideal specimen tree. People use it in borders because it is such a drought-tolerant, hardy plant that just wants to grow and come back every year. I do have a bad feeling that in North America it is going to become an invasive, as I do notice it spreads, not rapidly, but somewhat aggressively, especially in warmer climates like in Texas. It is hardy in zones 6 through 9. It can be grown into colder climates with certain cultivars, and growing it in microclimates like on the south face of a brick wall or something, that'll make it warmer, so it'll do better. Its flowers are these large tubular flowers here that are very fragrant and lilac-like. This guy is in the Lamiaceae family, or the mint family, so it has a lot of compounds that make it smell really fragrant and nice, meaning its foliage also smells really nice. That also makes it deer resistant, pest resistant, and rot resistant. As the chemical compounds found in the mint family, that pleasant scent to us is actually a deterrent for insects, as insects do not like that scent. So the smell of the leaves also keep things like deer, diseases, and pests from consuming this plant. But there are some specialists, which I couldn't find any, but I guarantee you there are insects that use this here in its native range as a larval host, meaning the butterflies will lay their eggs on here. It'll ingest those compounds, making them toxic, or at least a deterrent, so birds won't eat them. They have palmately compound leaves, meaning they're hand-like leaves, with 5 to 7 leaflets, reminding me a little bit of marijuana leaves. All right, I'm packed. We're about to leave on a ferry, but I wanted to show this. So this one actually has 8. I said 5 to 7 leaflets because that's what I researched, but as you can see, it's a palmating compound leaf. So this is one leaf, and it's palmating like a human hand, like the palm. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, no, 7. 7 leaflets. Sometimes these two don't grow, so sometimes they look like that, and you have 5 leaflets. They grow about 10 to 20 feet tall and 10 to 20 feet wide if they're left unchecked or pruned. But like I said, you can always chop them back annually to give them this nice bush shape. This guy here loves full sun, and to partial sun, it does prefer full sun, and its blooms will be much more magnificent if you keep it in the full sun. If you grow it into areas that are more like part sun, that will not have as many beautiful blooms on it, as it needs a lot of sun to bloom heavily so it can photosynthesize to get the energy it needs. It prefers moist, well-draining soils, so hillsides. It doesn't love boggy soils, so planting it somewhere like a marsh with really low oxygenated anaerobic soils, it won't do well. But well-draining, rocky soils that stay particularly moist but can also dry out from time to time, as this is a drought-resistant plant, is where this guy thrives. When it's young, it needs a little bit of care and extra water, like basically all plants do. And then as it gets mature and gets a large, vast root system, it'll hold that soil together, and it's going to help make sure that it doesn't die throughout the summer hot months. As in Oklahoma, I don't water it in the summer, and we can go 1 to 2 months without rain, 100-degree heat every day, and it does just fine. But this plant is just absolutely stunning. I'm going to throw in plenty of clips of this guy's flowers and all the pollinators using it. I'll also throw in some clips, as not all of them are actually this purple color. Some of them are more of a white color when they bloom, like the one next to it, which I'll turn the camera here. Yeah, this one right here is very white in color. You can see all the bees buzzing around, I think. There's a honeybee actually doing its job. See, in North America, honeybees are invasive, but here, honeybees are native. They're from Eurasia. All the ones we have in North America came from Europe and Asia, the European honeybee. There's a honeybee actually doing its job. See, in North America, honeybees are invasive, but here, honeybees are native. They're from Eurasia. All the ones we have in North America came from Europe and Asia, the European honeybee. And show that here in a second. But this guy is just an excellent choice as a drought-tolerant specimen plant in North America, and an excellent plant to plant anywhere in the native range where it's from. You know, I don't like planting non-natives to North America, and that's why I'm filming this here in Greece where it's native to. I try not to highlight plants that are non-native, as they do not help pollinators all that much, but these guys definitely are a vital food source if you plant them within areas of Texas, Oklahoma, the deep south. Just make sure it doesn't start spreading. If it starts spreading, please remove it, as we do not want it out competing our native species and becoming invasive. But at least during the life cycle of our pollinators in North America, they will have plenty of food when they're adult. But here in Africa, Asia, and Europe, where it is native to, it really helps out all their native insects, allowing them to have food, larval hosts, as well as a plethora of pollen. Because it's in the mint family, something I've noticed about plants in the mint family is pollinators love them when they bloom. So they are excellent choices. But with that, that is about it for today. Please leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll reach out and try to answer those for you as best of my capabilities. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. That's the best way to boost this channel, to boost the education that is brought to this channel. That is what this all is about, is to teach you guys about native plants and the plants around the world, as I want to travel around the world talking about all these amazing plants and their importance to their ecosystems. Every dime this channel ever makes will be always put back into educating the youth, educating people, and to buy and purchase land to protect it into the future for future generations, as I think that is one of the most important things that we could possibly do with our lives, is to protect this natural world and to educate people about it, so we don't end up destroying our planet and our children have something to learn from and to look forward to into the future. As we are destroying nature at such a rapid rate, it kind of scares me. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and have a great rest of your day.